be talking about programming your drums on the MPC One. This is a topic that I wanted to touch up on because it could be different for everybody, and for someone like me, I don't know if you guys are similar to me, I don't have a lot of technique or skill when it comes down to finger drumming or coming up with different grooves for my beats. That's one of my weak points. That's the part that I struggle with the most. One thing I do want to touch up on the MPC One, just working in the grid view editor, it just makes it really easy to program your drums. And that's what I'm gonna go over, how I'm utilizing the grid editor so I can lay down my drums. Something that stood out to me right from the beginning when I purchased the MPC One is the grid view and how I'm able to put notes in, take out, nudge, or go to the left or to the right. It kind of reminds me of the workflow in Ableton, so it just makes it very simple. Now let's start off with simplicity. I always keep it very simple. I just do a simple 1 to 2 bar boom bap drum beats, and then I sample into the MPC One and I do my chops because I already have that simple drum beat playing in the background. It makes it easier for me to get my creative flow going when it comes down to my samples. Once I have a good idea of where the beat is going, then I go back to my drum pattern and then I get a little fancy with it. I'll start adding snare rolls or extra kicks or take away certain things, and I'll polish up my 2 bar drum loop. Let's get started right here. Right now in this session, you know, I have right here, it's 90 beats per minute. I have some drum shots right here. Nothing too crazy, but what I like to do is, this is a fresh session. 90 beats per minute, 2 bars. What I'm gonna start off with is just a basic boom bap drum beats. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm gonna lay that down. And I like to go on my grid editor. I like working on the grid view when I'm doing my drums. It just makes it really easy for me. Now this is up to you guys, however you feel comfortable. You could be quantized or unquantized. What I'm gonna do is, for my hi-hats, I'm not gonna quantize my hi-hats. It doesn't matter if you guys do or don't. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take off quantization, and in order for you to do that, just hold down Shift and hit this TC until it turns off of the red. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off with my hi-hats, and let's lay that down first. See, the kicks sound really bad. I don't like how that sounds at all. So I'm gonna redo the kicks. And in order for you guys to delete the whole entire kick performance that you guys just did, just click out of, click any other pad and then click on that kick again, and it selects all your kicks. I'm gonna hit Shift and cut. Now I'm gonna just lay down the kick by itself. All right, so that sounds okay. Just the only thing I noticed is the downbeat on the second bar. I'm way off, really late. So I'm gonna go ahead and just select that one note and nudge it to the left, so I'm right on the downbeat of the second bar. In order for you guys to do that, just hit the little magnifying glass. I'm gonna zoom in right here, and I'm going to select the second kick, which is right there, and I'm gonna nudge it to the left. And make sure you're selected on nudge and also on don't snap, so it doesn't snap to a specific grid. I want to freely nudge this to the left or to the right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Cool, and I'm gonna zoom back out and let's hear what we got so far. Cool, really simple, really basic, nothing that you guys probably have never heard. Now, once I have that simple 2 bar drum loop, that's when I sample into the MPC One, which I already did. I'm not gonna go over how I sample. I have a video on that topic already, so make sure you guys check that out. I already sampled into the MPC One. I have my chops laid out. I'm chopping in quarter notes, which I have on track number 2. And right here, the reason why I like doing this is because I already have a drum groove playing in the background for me, so I'm able to lay down an idea of my samples on top of this beat and not worry too much on, man, my drums don't sound as good, or my drums this or my drums that. It's okay. Let's just start playing around with our chops. Once we lay down a performance in the sequence with our samples, then we will go back and touch up those drums. So let's go ahead and hear what we got. All right, cool. Let's see, that feels pretty good. I'm already having fun. Like for me, the fun part is performing my chops. That's where I have a lot of fun. So I'm already kind of getting my creative juice flowing, and I'm already coming up with the direction that I want to take this track towards. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay down what I just performed, and we'll go back to the drums right now. Cool. So again, really simple, just 2 bars. Even my sample is pretty simple. But what I like to do is once I have this laid down, I go in my grid editor and I do certain changes. I change certain things and add and take away and start getting a little bit more creative once I have my idea down. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back. Well, we're in our grid editor, but we're gonna go back to track 1, which that's where our drums are at. Now we're gonna actually hear this with the sample and see if we can add extra notes or extra kicks or hi-hats or snares to what we have already and see if we can polish up this groove a little bit more. So let's hear it and let's see if we can come up with something else. That's pretty cool. So you see, now I'm adding certain hits that I wasn't gonna do this in the beginning. I'm gonna add those extra kicks to this performance. But the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna go to 16 levels and I'm gonna make sure I'm on velocity. Make sure you hit the kick. Cool, that's where I'm at, hit close. And I'm gonna throw some of these lower velocity kicks on top of these notes that I have already. So let's go ahead and play that back. Again, make sure you're not on quantize because I want these to be a little off. Cool. It sounds okay. I'm pretty off on some of these hits, which is all good. That's why we have this grid editor, which is going to help us perfect those hits. I actually like what I laid down, but I noticed some of these hits were a little off. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you guys my workflow on this grid editor. It's very simple, really fast. It might seem a little complicated at first, but once you find your tools and how to navigate through this grid editor, it becomes very easy. The tools that I use the most, as you guys can see, this magnifying glass to zoom in. I pinch to zoom, and this selector right here. So I can select the notes that I want to move forward or backwards. So right now I'm in the selector. I'm gonna just select this middle kick that I added. I'm a little too late. I don't wanna be that late. So I'm gonna nudge this note a little more to the left. So what I'm gonna do, obviously select just that note, make sure I'm on nudge and don't snap. You don't wanna be on snap because it's gonna snap to an actual grid value, which we don't want that. So once I'm right there, I just use this jog wheel and I just go back a few samples. Now I'm gonna hit play and see how that sounds. That's cool. That's cool. Now this kick at the very end, I might nudge this one a little bit more to the right. So again, I did the same thing, select it. Let's go a little more to the right and let's hear how that sounds. That's cool. I like how that sounds. Now, once I have that laid down, I'll listen to my snares and I'm gonna get off of 16 levels. I'm gonna go to my snare and let's see how that sounds. Maybe I can add a short drum roll or snare roll to this. See, I'm kind of listening to things, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's all good. It doesn't work. What I'm doing right now is I'm selecting the snare, and I'm on note repeat. When I'm on note repeat, as I'm holding that down, I'm selecting 1/32. So as I hold down the snare, it kind of does like a snare roll. Also, my advice, if you guys are gonna do this, is do not be on full level. Just get off of full level and use the velocity sensitive pads. As you hold down a little stronger and softer, it kind of feels like there's some dynamics to that snare roll. So I'm gonna try to add that every now and then and see if it comes out good or not. So let's go ahead and do that. That's cool. I don't like the first snare roll that I did. I kind of like the second one that I did. Again, all we got to do now is just zoom in and let's delete the first snare roll that we've performed. Let's actually make this a little thicker because I can't see. There you go. Now let's select these first few shots, hit cut, zoom back out, and let's hear just the second snare roll. That's pretty cool. I like how that sounds. Maybe a little too strong of velocity. So I'm gonna select those and I'm gonna hit velocity right here. Now I'm on velocity and just scroll through and let's lower down the velocity. As you guys can see, the values are going back to 82, 81. I want these to be very soft. So now let's hear that. Maybe I can add a few more hi-hats or maybe even an open hat at the end of this 2-bar drum loop so it's not too repetitive. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play and see what sounds good to me. Cool, so I just added that open hi-hat right before the snare, which I like how that sounds. Again, maybe the velocity of that open hi-hat is a little too strong. In order for me to lower down just the volume of that pad, I'm gonna go to my main screen, and on this main screen, you see this little eyeball icon right here. Click on that, and make sure you go to the single pad icon. Do not be on the 4 squares or else that's gonna select your entire program. We wanna be on the single pad, so make sure you have that selected. Now select the pad you want to lower the volume of, which for me is gonna be this open hi-hat, and then just lower down this fader. That sounds cool. I'm liking how this sounds. Maybe I can add a crash on the downbeat. I don't have a crash on this drum program. There you go, there's one. I'm gonna add that to this pad. Now, since I'm on my drum program, as I'm surfing through these samples, that means in any of these pads that I'm adding, I'm gonna add that into that drum program. I'm gonna hit load. Now go to my main, and now I have that crash right here on this top pad. All right, that's okay. It sounds pretty good, but it's gonna be too soon and too repetitive. So what I'll do, now this is where you kind of get a little more fancier with this, is you go to this sequence section up here. Let me get rid of this page, hide. So we're gonna go up to this sequencer, and I'm gonna hit this pencil icon, and I'm gonna go to double length. So now it's gonna go from 2 bars to 4 bars. Once I click that, I go back to main. Now I see that I'm in a 4-bar sequence. So it just copied the first 2 bars and doubled it. So it copied and pasted and made 4 bars. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna have that crash on the second, or on the 3rd bar. I'm gonna take off that crash, cut. So I only want it on the downbeat of those 4 bars. So now let's see what we have. Actually, I'm gonna delete this open hi-hat too on this 1st bar. Cut. Now let's hear this. That's cool. So now I have 4 bars to play with, and that's how I'm building the track. Now, if I want to go into the 3rd bar or the 4th bar and start adding other kicks and putting other drum rolls or snare rolls, I can go ahead and do that, and you guys can do pretty much anything you guys want to do at this point. But this has been the way I am building my drum patterns in the MPC-1. Again, guys, I recommend you guys get familiar with this grid editor. It's very powerful. At the beginning, when I first picked up the MPC-1, I just didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't acclimating with this whole touchscreen, and it just felt weird for me. But as I'm getting more comfortable with it, I'm just getting a lot faster with these tools that are provided for us. So that's pretty much it, guys. This is obviously not a mixed song or something that I'm gonna take any further. This is just something I wanted to show you guys on how to navigate through this grid editor and how I've been going about creating these techniques or different variations with my drums. Guys, if you guys have any pointers or any advice, even for me, let me know down in the comments, because I've been learning a lot from you guys as well. And if you guys have not already, make sure you guys are watching some of my other videos. I have how I mix my drums on the MPC-1, so make sure you guys check that out. I'll leave that somewhere up here. And also, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you have not already done so. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on our next video.